Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2019 and the second part of this experiment where we're seeing what would happen if you had the perfect goalkeeper in the game. Now here are the stats of our man as we are looking at him at the moment. We are going to make a few changes to him though before going ahead, because last time we left off a few people pointed out things like he wasn't the tallest goalkeeper in the world, he had 20 for loyalty which would stop him moving to other clubs. And so we are going to address some of those issues now. I'll increase his height and weight. I'll make his height the maximum possible, which if we have a quick look here, I think is 210 centimetres, 212, so he will be an absolute giant. I'll also up his weight to around the 90 odd kilo mark, so that it goes up proportionately. And we'll also change his attribute details so that instead of 20 for loyalty, he will have a 1 for loyalty, which should help him moving around different clubs. Now when we left off before, you can see he had already won an awful lot of trophies. He'd won the Community Shield 3 times, the Carabao Cup once, the FA Cup twice, the Champions League once, and the European Championships with England. He also won the Confederations Cup and the FIFA Club World Cup, and he also has 3 Premier League titles, which is not bad for 22 years old, given that he's also won the Checkatrade Trophy, and I think it was League 1 or League 2 that he also won, Sky Bet League 2 with MK Dons. So he has racked up quite the medal collection so far in his career. And what we're going to go and do today is go forward about another 5 or 6 years. I'm only seeing this as a 3-part series, so in the next part we will go right to the end of his career as well. But I think if we go 5 or 6 years into the future now, if he hasn't moved clubs towards the end of this episode, I am going to terminate his contract at Man City and we will see where he goes after that. But what we're going to do now is go forward 5 years into the future and see what club he is at. If he's still at Man City, we will terminate his contract and we'll see what he's got up to on the pitch as well, and if he's managed to close down on that Balon d'Or, which is the real goal of this experiment, to get him to win that competition or that medal or that trophy. It is a trophy. So before we go ahead, do make sure you are subscribed to the channel, and thank you to everybody who has subscribed recently. The numbers have shot up despite there being a gap in videos, and make sure to drop a like on the video as well if you're enjoying this experiment and want to see that 3rd part. But let's go ahead into the future now and see how he's done. Well, we are now 5 years into the future, and as you can see, keeper Jenkaldo is now a free agent. He was still at Manchester City, so I have terminated his contract, and we will just have to see which club picks him up, because obviously this will be brand new salary negotiations as well. So it'll be one of the big teams, but it'll be interesting to see which one comes in for the undisputed best goalkeeper in the world. I did also increase his height to 212 centimetres. He's 98 kilos as well, so he's a big lad in goal. It'll be interesting to see if it's made much of a difference to his stats. But if we go to Manchester City and have a look at their senior squad schedule, going back to where we left off, which was about here. Obviously, in this season, they had gone all the way to the Champions League final and lost to Juventus. They'd done the double already by that point, winning the league and the FA Cup. We're not going to spend as much time on these today, but you can see he did win another Community Shield. They lost quite early in the Premier League season, got through the rest of the season pretty comfortably, lost to Liverpool here at home, lost in the EFL Cup final to Chelsea 3-0, Gedson Fernandez with 2 and Odsum Edouard also getting a goal. But he kept going through the other competitions, lost here to Napoli, but went through on penalties. He scored the first penalty, as he always does in the penalty shootouts. They then got past Barcelona as well, having beaten Juventus earlier as well. So that's a really good time there. They did win the FA Cup, and then they won the Champions League as well on penalties. He scored the first penalty in the cup shootout as well. After saving one from Arthur, he went and scored afterwards as well. So they did manage to win the treble this year with the Premier League in there as well. The following season, another Community Shield, another UEFA Super Cup against Spurs there. Ryan Sessegnon scoring for Spurs. Knocked out of the EFL Cup quite early though. But still going, winning just about everything along the way, including 3-1, 6-0 and then 6-0 again. So 2 clean sheets there. A couple of back-to-back defeats in the league though is a bit uncharacteristic. They did get past Valencia quite easily. Managed to get knocked out by Liverpool actually on away goals. Despite playing 10 men, they actually went behind in that game, and that away goal is what knocked them out really. because that's really poor. And they were 3-1 up as well in the 47th minute, but could not get that extra goal and was knocked out there and knocked out in the final of the FA Cup. That is not a good season for them, beating 3-0 on penalties, and he missed one as well. So a bad season for them there. I'm sure they will come back though, and they did win the Community Shield early on. Knocked out of the EFL Cup again to West Brom this time. Big unbeaten run here though, before losing to Everton. Did manage to get past PSG in the Champions League, through against United in both the FA Cup semi-final and the Champions League quarter-finals, scoring 10 goals without conceding against their rivals is not a bad way to go. Beat Juventus 4-1 in the home leg, 3-0 in the away leg, won against Liverpool in the FA Cup final, 3-0, big win there, and then won the Champions League final against Liverpool as well, 3-2. So they did probably do another treble there. Still going, lost the Community Shield. Liverpool getting some revenge there, but not quite making it even. Did beat Leverkusen 4-3 in a thriller where Leverkusen nearly came back to actually get level, but just couldn't get that last goal in the last 11 minutes. They did win another Club World Cup final, 7-0 this time against Grêmio. Through to the EFL Cup final where they did beat Chelsea, still going through the Champions League. And they did lose the FA Cup final to Arsenal. I think it's the second time they've lost it to Arsenal. They did win the Champions League yet again, though. And this has started to become quite repetitive at this point, which is another reason why I did want to terminate his contract. Won the UEFA Super Cup, still going through the other competitions. Did manage to get knocked out of the EFL Cup semi-final to Arsenal. Keep knocking them out of competitions. Southampton knocked them out of the FA Cup. But they did win yet another Champions League final, and that is where we have got to, having won all of these in a row, the last 3 Champions Leagues, but 4 of the last 5, Juventus winning 3 of them as well. He has won a lot of Champions League trophies, it is fair to say. Now if we go and have a look at the player himself, you can see he's got these perfect stats. If we look at his career stats, so he has got 16 clean sheets, was not a lot this season. He did get quite a lot the other season, 26 in 38 games this year. His best season in the league at least. But you can see 38 clean sheets overall. Just seeing if he got a better season. He didn't get a better season across all competitions. That was his peak really. 38 clean sheets in all competitions. I don't think he ever got better than that. And indeed he didn't. He got 35 in League 2. But that was his best Premier League season. The 23-24 season was his best time out. If we look at his milestones and just start with the competitions, which will give us a better idea. When we left off here, he had just finished runners-up in the Nations League and in the Champions League, but then went out, won the Community Shield, Premier League, FA Cup and Champions League treble there. Doing the real treble with Manchester City, runners-up in the European Championship with England, though, which we will look at in just a little bit. Did win another Community Shield, Super Cup, Club World Cup and Premier League, but lost in the FA Cup. And then the next year, they did manage to win. Where are we? We're here, aren't we? So they did win the Premier League. They didn't win the Community Shield that year, but the Premier League, FA Cup and Champions League treble, yet another one of those. Super Cup, Club World Cup, Carabao Cup, Premier League, no FA Cup, but a Champions League as well. So they were very close there, actually. If you look at this, they lost the Community Shield and lost the FA Cup. If they'd won those 2 games, they would have done the first septuple, or is it the sextuple? Sextuple, I think, in English football. 3rd place in the Nations League with England, but again, doing this double here, missing out on the FA Cup that year. But he's just absolutely fantastic. The number of trophies he has picked up with Manchester City, and you have to say it's definitely made a difference. I think if we look at the Premier League table, historically going back to when he first came in, which was about here, Manchester City getting that unbeaten season in their first year. The previous year they didn't even win the league. He came in 92 points, unbeaten. Following year 87 points, 4 points clear. They did actually miss out on the Premier League this year, missing out by 3 goals to Liverpool. 10 points clear though the next year, 4 points clear the year after that. 101 points this season, breaking their own record for the points total. A long way clear of Liverpool, 100 points the next year as well. And you can just see they are conceding by far the fewest goals in the league every year that they win this title. Just 27 goals there as well. 10 points clear. They've not really been threatened, and when you look at the past winners, there was just that 1 year where Liverpool managed to pip them to it, and then they finished runner-up every season around that. But Manchester City totally cleaning up, and so now the real question is, where is he going to go next? If we have a quick look first, though, at the Golden Glove or Golden Boot, not Golden Boot. Let's look at the Golden Boy. I think he won this at least once. Surely he won this once. He never won the European Golden Boy, despite being the Young Player of the Year at one point. I think he was Keeper of the Year as well. Best player in Europe, he's never won that one either. These are the European awards. Well, if we look at the Balon d'Or here, he has still not won the Balon d'Or. It's gone to Mbappe almost every year. Salah and Neymar getting in there as well. He's not even appearing in the top 3, which is just another sign that I think it's impossible for a goalkeeper to win this competition or win this award in the game. He wins the best goalkeeper award almost every year. Thibaut Courtois managing to pip it to him once here, Becker here as well, but he's won it 4 of the last 5 seasons. I don't know why he didn't win it this year. Maybe because Courtois got more clean sheets. He played 1 more game, got more clean sheets, but didn't have as high an average rating. And then you can see he did beat him to it then. And then beat David De Gea, who's now at PSG. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes, because it looks like a lot of the teams that he would normally go to already have really good goalkeepers. But if we have a quick look at the England team, and just a quick look at their schedule, we already know what he's won with them here. Obviously, they lost the Nations League final the following year, lost in the final to Germany 2-0 after beating Denmark in the semi-finals. Couldn't make it past Germany in the final of the European Championships. Lost here to both Germany and then Italy on penalties in the Nations League. Qualified for the World Cup though, got through Group G. Now that there's only 3 teams in the group. Beat Honduras 3-0, but lost to Venezuela. Penaranda getting 2 goals, including an 89th minute winner. 2 late goals in each half, taking Venezuela through. But what a disappointing way to go out of the World Cup. You can see, didn't manage to win in the Nations League the next year either, and now in the European Championships. They're going for this one again. They're about to take on Belgium, having beaten Slovakia, Turkey and Holland, and we'll have to see how they get on here. They should get through this Nations League group as long as they can get past Germany. And then we'll have to look at how he does after that. But what we're going to do now is just go forward 2 more years into the future and have a quick look at what team that he has ended up at and if he's managed to be successful with them. And then next time we will just go to... I've just noticed England have got a female manager here. Emma Hayes, English female, is a manager of England. That is not something I've seen. I know that there are female managers in the game now, but it's the first time that I've seen one manager of England. You'll have to let me know if you've seen anything like that in the game. What is her biography? Let's have a quick look. Sorry, this is a bit of a detour, but I've not seen this before. She's gone for manager of Brentford, who are in the Premier League to be fair. Carlisle, Swindon, Shrewsbury, Barnsley, Brentford. Did they win anything? They just went up here. So she left just as they won the playoffs and got promoted to the Premier League and then became England manager. That does not make an awful lot of sense. There must be a real lack of high quality England managers going on at the moment to have ended up as England manager with this kind of a history. But there we go, we've got Emma Hayes now as England manager. So let's go forward 2 years in time and we'll have a quick look at how he has done at the next club and what club he's signed for. Well, we are a couple of years into the future. Keeper Jenkaldo is now 29 years old, and you can see he has moved to Arsenal of all teams. We're not going to spend too much time having a look at the details for this one because I don't think it's going to be too surprising. But you can see he moved here when he was a free agent. He's done consistently well, not getting quite as many clean sheets, a record low of 15 in this season. Although there's still a couple of games, or he didn't play all 38 games actually. Which is a little bit surprising. He does have perfect fitness in theory, but if we have a look at his club form and see how Arsenal have managed to get on, then we will be able to see that in his first season with the club they were doing reasonably well, not losing many games actually, winning an awful lot of them. Be interested to see if they did win the Premier League, still going in the cup competitions, actually won the EFL Cup against his former team Manchester City 2-1 with it saving or sent off, sorry, I thought it was a penalty, but sent off in the 89th minute a Man City player, and they weren't able to get through. Got through the first Champions League knockout round, or did they? They lost 3-0 to Hamburger actually, which was a bit of a shock. I assume they get past Hamburger, but knocked out of the Champions League, knocked out of the FA Cup. Looks like they might have won the Premier League, but we will check on that in a minute. A perfect start to the season here. A few draws creeping in, and then they lost to Southampton, of all teams. Managed to get through on penalties against Manchester United, but did they lose on penalties here to Liverpool in the semi-finals of the EFL Cup. Still going in the Champions League, though. Managed to get past Bayern Munich before being beaten by Barcelona. But they did win the FA Cup 3-1 against Southampton. So if we have a look at keeper Jenkaldo's milestones and his competitions, then we can see since he joined Arsenal, third place in the Nations League, did manage to win the Premier League and FA Cup and Carabao Cup, but they have not yet won the Champions League, and that will be the thing to look at next. If we have a quick look at the England team over the last 2 years, you can see knocked out by Belgium on penalties, as we saw last time. They weren't able to get past Belgium, and then in the Nations League semi-final, having got through their group, they lost to Portugal, but did finish third ahead of France, and they're currently qualifying for the World Cup. Or in the World Cup now, and they have beaten Venezuela this time. Shame they didn't do it last time. They've got Thailand up next, and then we'll see how they get on. But that is going to be it for today's episode. Now, looking ahead to the next part, we can see that Emma Hayes has gone as England manager. Looking ahead to the next part, I'm going to go to the end of his career, but I'm thinking I'm going to terminate his contract if he hasn't left Arsenal in a couple of years. Maybe send him back to MK Dons, his original team, and see how he does there and how long he stays there. And then we'll see where he ends his career. We'll also take a look if he goes into becoming a manager as well, and if he's successful at that. So a lot to look forward to in the next part. Do subscribe to the channel if you want to see that. Make sure you drop a like on the video as well if you're glad to see these experiments back. But until next time, see ya!